Please don't let him take me. The tiny shaking voice cut through the silence of the mechanic shop at 2 in the morning like a blade. Marcus Williams, a 42-year-old ex-con, looked up from the engine he was fixing and found a girl about 6 years old standing in the doorway, holding a pink backpack that seemed bigger than she was. The garage was located in an abandoned industrial area, far from any homes. How the hell had a kid gotten here all alone in the middle of the night? Hey little one, are you lost? Marcus wiped his oil-stained hands on a rag and slowly walked over. His 8 years in prison had taught him to recognize real fear, and this little girl's eyes were overflowing with pure terror. My name is Sophie. Sophie Martinez. Her voice was steady despite the tremor. Mommy told me that if something really bad happened, I should look for people who seem scary but protect those who need it. You look scary. Marcus almost smiled at the child's logic, but something in the desperate tone of the kid alerted him. Where's your mom, Sophie? Daddy made her sleep forever. The words came out as a broken whisper. There was lots of red blood on the kitchen floor when I ran away. Mommy wouldn't wake up when I called her. Marcus's stomach dropped. He knew that kind of sleep. He'd seen men sleep like that in prison. How did you get here, sweetheart? He knelt down to her level. I followed the white line on the road all night long. Mommy showed me this place once when we drove by. She said the big tattooed man who works here went to jail before, but that sometimes people who went to bad places become really good people. Marcus felt a tightness in his chest. His reputation in the neighborhood was complicated. An ex-dealer who'd served time for assault, now trying to rebuild his life with an honest shop. But how did a desperate mother know about this? Sophie opened her backpack with trembling hands. I brought snacks for the trip and Mommy's phone. And... She paused, taking a deep breath, other important stuff. What she pulled out made Marcus take a step back. A kitchen knife with dried blood on the blade. Daddy was hurting Mommy with this. I grabbed it when he wasn't looking. Her innocent eyes met his. Mommy always said that when grown-ups do bad things, we need to keep proof. Is this proof? Before Marcus could answer, Sophie pulled more items from her backpack. A small digital recorder. A pink flash drive with unicorn stickers. And a small, cheap camera. Mommy taught me to record when Daddy got angry. She said the police don't believe kids unless we have lots and lots of proof. Sophie worked the camera buttons with tiny but precise fingers. And she hid this little computer thingy in my backpack. She said it was super important and that if anything happened to her, I had to give it to someone who would protect me. Marcus swallowed hard when he saw the first photo on the camera's screen. A woman with a black eye and split lip. The second showed finger marks on her neck. The third. How many photos are on there, Sophie? 52. Mommy said I had to document everything properly. The girl spoke like she was reciting a memorized lesson. The last ones are from last night, when Daddy found out Mommy was saving money to run away with me. That's when Marcus heard it. The distant sound of engines approaching. Not one car. Several. Headlights cut through the darkness at the shop entrance, illuminating 3 black SUVs that stopped in formation. Sophie cowered behind Marcus, whispering with total panic in her voice. It's Daddy. He brought his work friends. She grabbed Marcus's leg. Please don't let them take me. They're gonna make me sleep like Mommy. From the first car stepped a tall, well-dressed man, clearly nervous but trying to appear in control. From the other cars came 4 men that Marcus immediately recognized by their build and the way they moved. Professional security. Or worse. Sophie. Get out here now. The shout echoed through the shop. You took something you shouldn't have. The girl trembled violently behind Marcus. He's talking about the pink computer. Mommy said it had secrets from his dirty work inside. Marcus looked at the armed men spreading out of the shop entrance, then at the terrified child clinging to his leg, and finally at the pink backpack that apparently contained evidence of a murder and who knows what else. If you're enjoying this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, because what happens next will change Sophie's life forever. Marcus had spent 8 years behind bars promising himself he'd never get involved in violence again. But sometimes life puts impossible choices in front of us, and protecting an innocent child might be worth any consequence. Listen here, buddy, Sophie's father shouted from the entrance, his voice drunk and desperate. You don't understand who you're messing with. I'm David Martinez. I work for very powerful people. That girl took information that could get us all killed. Marcus kept Sophie behind him, studying the armed men. He recognized the type: cold professionals, unhurried, used to solving problems without asking questions. Daddy's lying, Sophie whispered, her little voice breaking. Mommy told me the truth before she went to sleep. He sells children to bad people. The pink computer has all their names and photos. Marcus's blood ran cold. Human trafficking. That explained the expensive cars, professional security, David's genuine desperation. Sophie. David roared again, swaying slightly. Stop making up lies. You don't understand anything. One of the security guys approached the boss and whispered something in his ear. David visibly paled. They said if the computer gets to the police, they'll make you sleep like Mommy, Sophie continued whispering, her small fingers gripping the backpack. Mommy recorded them saying that. It's on the recorder. Marcus looked at the camera still in the girl's hands. Sophie, did you film your father with these men? Mommy taught me to film secretly. They never knew. She worked the buttons. Look, there's Daddy getting money from a really bad man who talked about girls my age. The next photo showed David Martinez handing an envelope to a man in an expensive suit. The next one showed children in a van. Marcus had to look away. My boss isn't patient, one of the security guys finally spoke, his voice cold as ice. Mr. Martinez, handle this now or we'll handle it our way. David started sweating bullets. Sophie, honey, come here. Daddy won't hurt you. I just need what you took from Mommy, okay? You hurt Mommy. Sophie screamed for the first time, her voice echoing through the shop. You said you were gonna sell me to the bad men. I heard you on the phone. David's desperation turned to pure rage. Your mother was a nosy bitch. She shouldn't have messed with my stuff. And you. He pointed a shaky finger at Sophie. You should have stayed quiet in your room. Marcus felt a familiar fury rising in his chest. The same one that had landed him in prison years ago when he saw a man beating a woman. But this time was different. This time there was an innocent child depending on him. Mr. Martinez, Marcus said, his voice dangerously calm, I suggest you and your buddies get off my property. Now. The security guys laughed. The biggest one, a bald man with scars on his face, stepped forward. Hey, ex-con, you're not getting the situation. This kid has something worth millions in operations. We're not leaving empty-handed. Mommy said there were over 100 kids in the files, Sophie whispered, tears finally starting to fall. Some from my school. Emma Thompson disappeared last month. She's in the photos. Marcus clenched his fists. Emma Thompson. He remembered the case. A 7-year-old girl who'd vanished from the playground. Police said it was probably a stranger. They never imagined it was an organized network. You got two options, the bald security guy continued, pulling out a pistol. Hand over the girl and forget this happened, or we're gonna have to be less diplomatic. David Martinez was visibly panicking now. Please, Sophie. Daddy was just, it was only work. It wasn't real. I never would have let anything happen to you. You killed Mommy. Sophie screamed, her voice breaking into sobs. You said I was merchandise. I heard you. That's when Marcus realized something crucial. Sophie wasn't just traumatized, she was being strategic. Every revelation, every photo, every recording she mentioned made the men more nervous, more desperate. A 6-year-old kid was consciously destroying a human trafficking network using lessons her dead mother had taught her. The bald security guy lost his patience. Enough talk. He raised his weapon, aiming at Marcus. Either you hand over the girl, or... Wait, Sophie said, stepping out from behind Marcus with her backpack. I'll go with you guys. No. Marcus turned, trying to protect her, but she was already walking toward the men. But first, she said, her little voice taking on a strange tone, almost too mature for her age, do you want to know where Mommy hid the other copies? All 5 men froze. David Martinez stopped breathing. Other copies? The bald security guy asked slowly. Sophie nodded, her big innocent eyes fixed on his. Mommy was really smart. She said bad men always think they're smarter than women and children. But she made copies of everything and hid them in places you'll never find on your own. Marcus realized what was happening. Sophie was buying time. But time for what? That's when he heard it. Sirens. Distant, but getting closer fast. Did you call the cops? David Martinez screamed, his voice going up several octaves. The sirens got louder every second. Sophie shook her head innocently. No, Daddy. I don't know how to use a phone to call police. The security guys exchanged nervous looks. Baldy lowered his gun slightly. Boss, if the cops show up. I know. David bellowed, running sweaty hands through his hair. It's gotta be now. Now. That's when Marcus noticed something the others didn't see. A small red LED blinking from Sophie's backpack. She hadn't turned off the recorder. She was recording everything. The confessions, the threats, evidence of an entire conspiracy being admitted in panic. A 6-year-old kid was conducting a police operation. Mommy taught me a trick, Sophie said calmly, while the sirens became deafening. She said when you're scared of bad people, you gotta make them more scared than you are. The first police car appeared around the bend, followed by 2, 3, 4 vehicles. But they weren't just regular patrol cars. Marcus recognized FBI units, special task force vehicles. How the hell? The bald security guy muttered. Sophie smiled for the first time all night, a smile that was both childlike and terrifyingly clever. Mommy activated a special app on her phone before going to sleep. It sends automatic location to police when it detects specific words being spoken. David Martinez was in total shock. What words? Trafficking. Children. Cell. Operation. Sophie counted on her little fingers. And my name. Mommy programmed it to activate if someone yelled my name along with those words. The bald security guy looked at David with pure hatred. You idiot. You said all that stuff. Marcus had to suppress an admiring smile. Sophie's mother had turned her own daughter into a walking trap. Every desperate confession from the criminals triggered more automatic evidence. There's more, Sophie continued, pulling her mother's phone from the backpack. Mommy set it up to automatically upload all photos and recordings to a special cloud server every time the phone detects police car movement nearby. The sirens stopped. Car doors slamming. Megaphones being turned on. David Martinez. FBI. You're surrounded. David fell to his knees. No, no, no. They're gonna kill me. You don't understand, if I get arrested, they'll kill me in prison. Should have thought about that before you hurt Mommy, Sophie said, her small but firm voice. The bald security guy looked around desperately, calculating options. We can still use the girl as a shield. I wouldn't recommend that, Marcus said calmly, stepping forward. Oh yeah? And why not ex-con? Marcus smiled, a smile that didn't reach his eyes, the same one he used in prison when someone threatened innocent people. Because you haven't figured it out yet. Figured out what? Sophie didn't come here asking for my protection by accident. Marcus crossed his arms. She came because her mother specifically instructed her to find me. The security guy frowned. What are you talking about? Elena Martinez, Marcus said softly, and Sophie nodded. Her mother. She'd been working as an FBI informant for 2 years, collecting evidence against the trafficking network. She met me when I testified against a member of the same organization during my parole process. David Martinez looked at his daughter like he was seeing a ghost. Elena, she was. Mommy was a hero, Sophie said proudly. She pretended to be your dumb wife, but really she was saving all the children you guys hurt. Marcus continued, Elena Martinez approached me 6 months ago. Said if anything happened to her, Sophie would know where to find me. Asked me to protect the girl if her plan went wrong. What plan? The bald security guy asked, though his voice had already lost all authority. The flash drive doesn't just have evidence of the trafficking operation, Marcus explained, watching the men turn pale. It has 2 years of recorded conversations, bank transfers, client lists, transport routes. Elena documented everything. Sophie waved to the FBI agents now surrounding the shop. Agent Thompson. Over here. A tall woman in a suit approached, lowering her weapon. "Hi, Sophie. Are you okay?" "Yeah. Uncle Marcus protected me just like Mommy said he would." Sophie ran to the agent. "I recorded them confessing everything." Agent Thompson picked Sophie up and looked at Marcus with respect. "Mr. Williams, thank you for keeping her safe. How did you guys get here so fast?" Marcus asked. Elena installed a monitoring app on her phone that tracked Sophie's location 24/7. When she activated the emergency code before dying, our team was already on the way. David Martinez was being handcuffed when he shouted, "Sophie, I'm your father. I love you." Sophie turned in the agent's arms, her eyes meeting her father's for the last time. "Daddy, people who love don't hurt. Mommy taught me that." Those were the last words she ever said to him. As the FBI cars prepared to leave, Sophie turned to Marcus. "Uncle Marcus, Mommy said after the bad men got caught, you'd have to decide something important." "What's that, sweetheart?" Sophie smiled, this time a purely childlike smile, without the weight of the world on her shoulders. "If you want to be my real new daddy. Mommy said real heroes deserve real families." Marcus felt his eyes burn. "Sophie." "Agent Thompson already has all the papers ready," Sophie said hopefully. "Mommy planned everything. She said you'd teach me to be strong like you became after jail, and I'd teach you how to smile again." The quiet mechanic shop suddenly felt like the most important place in the world. An ex-con trying to redeem himself and a 6-year-old girl who had just destroyed an international human trafficking network, brought together by a heroic mother who had planned everything down to the last detail. 3 months later, Marcus found himself in federal court, holding Sophie's hand as she prepared to testify against the largest human trafficking network dismantled in the country's history. "Are you sure you want to do this, sweetheart?" Marcus whispered. "You don't have to speak if you don't want to." Sophie shook her head with determination. "Mommy said my voice would save many children. I need to speak for them." The federal prosecutor had explained, Elena's flash drive contained evidence implicating 47 people across 12 different states, including corrupt cops, judges, businessmen, and politicians. Sophie's testimony would be the key to closing all the cases. David Martinez entered the courtroom in handcuffs, avoiding his daughter's eyes. In the 3 months in prison, he'd lost weight, his hair had gone gray, and his arrogance had completely disappeared. "Sophie Martinez," the judge called gently. "Can you tell us what you saw the night your mother died?" Sophie approached the microphone, her small but clear voice echoing through the packed courtroom. "Mommy was making dinner when Daddy came home angry. He was yelling about money and about how she was too nosy." David shifted uncomfortably in his chair. He said he'd found out Mommy was collecting trash, that's what he called the evidence. And that now his bosses were gonna kill all of us because of her. "What did your mother do then?" the prosecutor asked. "Mommy went to the bedroom and came back with my pink backpack. She put the little computer thingy inside and told me to run." Sophie paused, wiping away a tear. She hugged me and said, "Sophie, Mommy loves you more than anything in the world. Now you're gonna save all the other little girls like you." The courtroom was in absolute silence. And then Daddy grabbed the knife. David Martinez broke down. "Sophie, please. I didn't want to. They were gonna kill me if I didn't." "Silence." The judge banged his gavel. "Mr. Martinez, you'll have your chance to speak." Sophie continued, unshaken. "Mommy screamed for me to run, so I ran. But before I left, I heard Daddy on the phone saying, 'It's done. Now I gotta find the girl and the flash drive.' Did you hear anything else?" "I heard him say I was valuable merchandise, and could make up for the loss if they sold me to special clients." Sophie looked directly at her father for the first time. "Daddy, were you gonna sell me like the other girls?" David completely crumbled, covering his face with his cuffed hands. "I wasn't gonna let anything happen. It was just to scare your mother." "Liar!" Sophie screamed, her voice breaking formal protocol. "I heard you working out the price. You said girls my age were worth more money." Sophie's emotional outburst silenced the entire courtroom. Marcus instinctively stood up, wanting to comfort her, but she continued. "You know how many girls Mommy saved because of me?" Sophie turned to the jury. 84. They're free now because of what Mommy did. Because of what I did. The prosecutor then presented the final evidence. The 52 photos documenting 2 years of abuse. The 73 audio recordings showing David negotiating children's prices. The banking records from the flash drive proving he'd sold 23 girls in 18 months. But the most devastating evidence was the last video Elena had recorded the night of her death, while Sophie slept. My name is Elena Martinez. If you're watching this, it means my husband killed me like he threatened to do. But it also means my daughter managed to escape and deliver the evidence to the right people. Elena spoke directly to the camera, knowing these would be her last words. David, if you're watching this, you lost. Every child you sold, every family you destroyed, every tear from our daughter, all of it will be paid for today. David was sobbing uncontrollably now. And Sophie, my love, if you're watching this, Mommy is so proud of you. You're the bravest little girl in the world. Now you have a new family that truly loves you. The video showed Elena hiding the flash drive in Sophie's backpack, activating the tracking apps, and sending a final message to Agent Thompson, Operation Complete. Protect my daughter. When the video ended, there wasn't a single person in the courtroom who wasn't crying. The verdict was unanimous and swift. David Martinez was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole for first-degree murder, human trafficking, and organized criminal conspiracy. As he was being led out of the courtroom, David tried one last time, Sophie, I'm your father. I love you. Sophie turned calmly and replied, David Martinez, you were never my father. My father is Marcus Williams, and he truly loves me. It was the last time she looked back. Outside the courthouse, dozens of reporters surrounded Sophie and Marcus. A journalist asked, Sophie, how do you feel knowing you helped save so many children? Sophie thought for a moment, then smiled, the first truly happy smile Marcus had ever seen from her. Mommy always said that when bad things happen, we can choose to be sad forever or use our strength to help other people. I chose to help. What's next for you two? Marcus knelt beside Sophie, putting his arm around her. We're going home. Our home. And we're gonna live as the family we chose to be. Sophie looked at the cameras one last time. If there's any kid watching this and someone is hurting you, tell a grown-up you trust. Do what Mommy taught me, collect evidence, be brave, and remember that good people exist and will protect you. As they walked away from the courthouse, Marcus noticed Sophie wasn't carrying her pink backpack anymore. Where's your backpack, sweetheart? I gave it to Agent Thompson. She said she's gonna give it to other kids who need to be brave like I was. Sophie took Marcus's hand. I don't need it anymore. Now I have you. Justice had been served. Elena Martinez had won even in death. And a 6-year-old girl had become the youngest hero in FBI history. 2 years later, Marcus Williams stood in the backyard of their new home, watching 8-year-old Sophie teach a group of children from the local shelter how to document evidence safely using disposable cameras. Remember, Sophie said in her small but confident voice, if grown-ups are doing bad things to you, you need proof. But never put yourself in more danger to get it. Safety first, evidence second. Marcus smiled as he watched his daughter, because that's what she was now, legally and in every way that mattered, patiently show a shy 7-year-old boy how to take clear photos without being noticed. The Sophie Foundation, established with money from Elena's life insurance and donations from around the world, had already helped 200 children escape dangerous situations. Sophie insisted on being actively involved despite her young age, creating educational videos and speaking at schools about recognizing abuse. Dad. Sophie called out, running toward him with grass stains on her knees and the biggest smile he'd ever seen. Tommy learned how to use the recording app. He's going to help his little sister. Marcus knelt down and hugged her tight. Gone was the terrified 6-year-old who had stumbled into his garage that night. This Sophie was confident, happy, and determined to change the world. I'm proud of you, sweetheart, Marcus whispered. Your mom would be so proud too. I know she is, Sophie said matter-of-factly. I talk to her every night before bed. She told me something important yesterday. Oh yeah? What did she say? Sophie looked up at him with those same wise eyes that had seen too much, but now sparkled with hope instead of fear. She said that bad things happen to good people sometimes, but good people can choose to make sure bad things stop happening to other people. Marcus felt that familiar tightness in his chest, the overwhelming love and pride he felt for this incredible little girl who had changed his entire life. The mechanic shop had become the most successful auto repair business in the county, but Marcus had expanded it into something much more important. The back building was now a safe house for children in crisis, staffed by social workers and volunteers. They called it Elena's place. "Dad, can I tell you something?" Sophie asked, settling into his lap on the porch swing. "Always, baby girl. What is it?" "Sometimes I have dreams about that night at your shop. But they're not scary dreams anymore." She played with a small heart locket around her neck, a gift from her mother that contained a photo of the three of them, Elena, Sophie, and Marcus, taken just days before Elena's death when she'd secretly introduced them. "In my dreams, Mama tells me that everything happened exactly the way it was supposed to happen." Marcus felt tears prick his eyes. "Why do you think that?" "Because if David hadn't been so mean, I never would have found you. Mama never would have been able to save all those other kids. And I never would have learned how strong I really am." She paused, looking out at the children still playing in the yard, kids from broken homes who came to Elena's place for safety, hope, and healing. "Mama used to say that sometimes angels have to do scary things to protect people. I think she was my guardian angel even before she went to heaven." The phone inside the house rang, and Marcus recognized the ringtone. It was Agent Thompson. "Sophie Foundation, this is Marcus," he answered, stepping inside while Sophie continued playing. "Marcus, we got him." Agent Thompson's voice was triumphant. "The last name on Elena's list. Senator Robert Hayes was arrested this morning. That's all 47 people from the network. It's finally over." Marcus closed his eyes and felt a weight he'd been carrying for 2 years finally lift from his shoulders. Every single person who had hurt children, who had threatened Sophie, who had taken Elena away from her daughter, all of them were now behind bars. "How's our girl doing?" Agent Thompson asked softly. Marcus looked out the window at Sophie, who was now leading the group of children in some kind of game that involved a lot of giggling and running around. "She's perfect," he said honestly. "She's healing the world, one kid at a time." That evening, as Marcus tucked Sophie into bed, she pulled out a letter she'd been writing. "It's for kids who are scared like I used to be," she explained. "I want them to know that even when really bad things happen, there are good people who will fight for you." Marcus read the letter over her shoulder. "Dear scared kid, my name is Sophie and I used to be scared too. Bad people hurt my mama and wanted to hurt me, but I found someone who protected me. His name is Marcus and he used to make mistakes, but now he's the best daddy in the world. If someone is hurting you, tell a safe grown-up. Take pictures if you can, but only if it's safe. Remember that it's not your fault, and there are people who will believe you and help you. Sometimes the people who look scary on the outside are actually the ones with the biggest hearts. You are braver than you think. Love, Sophie, age 8. Marcus had to wipe his eyes. "You want to send this out with the foundation materials?" "Yeah. And Dad? I want to make a video too. So kids can see that I'm happy now, even after bad things happened. Sophie, you know you don't have to keep doing this work if it makes you sad or scared, right? You can just be a regular kid." Sophie shook her head firmly. "This is what I'm supposed to do. Mama showed me how to be brave, you showed me how to be loved, and now I need to show other kids that they can be both." As Marcus turned off the lights and kissed her forehead goodnight, Sophie whispered, "Dad." "Yeah, baby girl. Thank you for keeping your promise to Mama." "What promise?" "To love me like I was your own and protect me forever. She told me in a dream that she knew you would." Marcus felt his heart swell with an emotion too big for words. "Sophie, you are my own. From the moment you walked into that garage, you became mine. And I will protect you forever." 6 months later, Sophie Williams stood on stage at the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children's annual conference, speaking to an audience of law enforcement officials, social workers, and other advocates. "My name is Sophie Williams," she said confidently into the microphone. 2.5 years ago, someone very bad hurt my first mama. But she taught me something important before she went to heaven, that scared kids can become strong kids, and strong kids can help other scared kids." The audience was silent, hanging on every word from the 9-year-old who had helped dismantle the largest child trafficking ring in U.S. history. "I want every grown-up here to remember, kids are braver than you think. We see things, we hear things, and we can help catch bad people if you teach us how to be safe while we do it. She paused, looking out at the crowd of adults who had dedicated their lives to protecting children. And I want you to know that sometimes the best protectors are people who look different than what you expect. My daddy used to be in jail, but now he saves kids every day. Don't judge people by their past mistakes. Judge them by how they treat kids. The standing ovation lasted 3 full minutes. After her speech, a young journalist approached Sophie and Marcus backstage. Sophie, what would you say to other children who are living in scary situations right now? Sophie thought for a moment, then looked directly into the camera. I would say, you are not alone, you are not powerless, and you are not forgotten. There are people who will fight for you, even if they're people you wouldn't expect. Sometimes the strongest families are the ones we choose, not the ones we're born into. She reached for Marcus's hand. And sometimes the best thing that ever happens to you comes from the worst thing that ever happened to you. I lost my first mama, but I found my forever daddy. Bad things don't have to mean bad endings. Any final message? The journalist asked. Sophie smiled, that radiant healing smile that had become her trademark. If you're watching this and someone is hurting you, tell someone. Take pictures if it's safe. Run to people who will protect you. And remember, you might be small, but you have the power to save yourself and help save other kids too. She looked up at Marcus with pure love and trust. Sometimes the scariest-looking people have the biggest hearts. And sometimes a little girl asking a stranger for help can save more lives than all the grown-ups put together. As they walked out of the building together, Marcus reflected on how completely his life had changed. 2.5 years ago, he was an ex-convict trying to stay out of trouble, working alone in a garage, avoiding connections because he didn't think he deserved them. Now he was a father, a business owner, a child advocate, and proof that people could change their entire story if given the chance. Dad. Sophie said as they got into the car. What's up, kiddo? Do you think Mama knew? When she sent me to find you that night. Do you think she knew we'd end up being a perfect family? Marcus started the engine and looked at his daughter in the rearview mirror. I think your mama was the smartest woman who ever lived. I think she knew exactly what she was doing. Sophie grinned. Me too. She always said guardian angels work in mysterious ways. David Martinez died in prison 6 months later, not from violence, but from a heart attack brought on by the stress of knowing that every day, more children were being saved because of what his daughter had done. His last words, according to the prison chaplain, were "Tell Sophie I'm sorry." Sophie's response, when Agent Thompson delivered the message, was simple: I forgive him. Mama taught me that forgiveness isn't for bad people, it's to keep good people from carrying around heavy feelings. She never spoke his name again. The Sophie Williams Foundation now operates in 12 states, has helped over 1,000 children escape dangerous situations, and has become the gold standard for child-led advocacy programs. Sophie, now preparing to turn 10, still insists on personally meeting every child who comes to their centers. Everyone deserves someone who will fight for them, she says. Mama fought for me, Daddy fights for me, and now we fight for everyone. Elena Martinez's final victory wasn't just saving her daughter or destroying a criminal network. It was proving that love, preparation, and courage could transform even the most broken people into the most powerful protectors. Marcus Williams went from ex-convict to Father of the Year. Sophie Martinez became Sophie Williams and grew from terrified victim to national hero. And a woman's love reached beyond death to save not just her own child, but hundreds of others. Sometimes the most beautiful families are born from the most terrible circumstances. Sometimes the people who seem most dangerous are actually the safest harbor in the storm. And sometimes a little girl's courage can literally change the world. If this story touched your heart like it touched ours, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell, because stories like Sophie's remind us that heroes come in all sizes, hope can be found in the darkest places, and love really can conquer all.